Hello there and welcome. My name is Martin Close, and this is the Classical Art Academy Online Art School. Evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's stream of some blue glass bottles. It's the third in the series, and my objectives today are really very simple. I want to make sure that the shapes are correct on the reflections and do any corrections which I can see with the main outline, obviously. And mainly is to try to keep the saturation as high as possible. As you can probably see from last week, I've done a little bit, but not too much. It's just mainly filled in some of the dark areas and the caps. There's one cap still to do. And then it's really going to be take each bottle at a time and put in the reflections as accurately as I can see them. Now we've got 2 hours, so it's not a small order. The likelihood is that this will probably progress into a stage where I'll work on it outside the stream. Next week we'll have a new study, but we will be, when the painting's finished, we'll be launching it as well on the system, and you'll be able to see the full edited version of on the tutorial video on the main website. So all good. Let's get cracking on it. I think a couple of additions to the palette colours. Yes, we got titanium white, yellow ochre, French ultramarine blue. That's ultramarine violet, I think. Is it? Should be. Yes, ultramarine violet. Thought I'd check. Alizarin crimson, because there's a purpley red, and this appears in some of the reflections and mainly of the glass bottles which you see. I've added some raw umber just for the bronze cap or the brown cap on the bottle which is on the left, and our old favourite which is ivory black. And you can see some of the colours up here. This is blue black, and again some favourites which I always try to do is some greys, light medium and dark grey. This is just titanium white and ivory black, and then I can add whatever colours I need to achieve the hue that I'm looking for within that grey. I find greys useful, as all my students will know, because it's an instant fix if you're happy with everything, the value of a colour, you're happy with the hue of a colour. It's just a little bit too saturated, so the easiest thing is to pop a bit of grey in, and that'll just take the saturation down. So that's why the greys are there. Let's start, I think, by going into this cap here. Let's get all the canvas painted, and then we can start tweaking as we go. So, fresh brush. This is a fine one. I think it's a number 2, is it? Or am I wrong? Nope, it's a number 0. Yeah, 0. And that's an ivory long filbert from Rosemary & Co. So let's have a look at this. There's lights and darks. Obviously, you've got main mass color, and then you've got the dark and the highlights. So quite easily, we could just go for the main mass color straight away. I think that's probably the easiest, and we can add the highlights and the darks later. I've got a little bit of glazing medium here, which is fast drying, so we can start with a bit of that on the tile. And let's see, I've already pre-mixed a little bit of this color up, which generally speaking is, I think it's got a little bit of alizarin crimson in it. It's fundamentally the raw umber and a little bit of titanium white. Just to I think it's got a bit of black in it. And it's a bit of all sorts, really, that. Let's just see how it fares with this cap. It's a low chroma. It's a metallic cap. I'll say that again. It's a metallic cap. So let's see how we go with this. I'll just pop a bit of this color in just to see what it looks like. And again, we've got the camera doing its beautiful thing. It's a little bit high chroma. So easiest way to kill the chroma, well, there's two ways. We've got the greys, but we've also got some blues. And if I take a little bit of blue, that's a lot of blue, but let's say a little bit of blue, and I add it to that, it'll kill some of the chroma down. And the reason for this is that browns, generally speaking, are oranges. They're either yellow orange or red orange, and it's a dark orange, obviously. But blue, being the complementary, will remove the saturation, the chroma from orange. And here we see it's gone darker. The reason is that it wants to go to black, but we won't let it. And we can afford to go a little darker, say on the main color. So let's see what this looks like. Again, instantly the heat has gone, the high chroma of that color's gone. And it's not terrible. It's not terrible. It's a little bit warm still, but so those highlights. I think what I'm going to do is to let's have a quick look again. Yeah, we can just take a little bit of that chroma away again. Don't think it will hurt. Don't want to make it go blue, but we don't want the warmth which we've currently got. Okay. And I'm just mindful of going too dark now on this. So I think what I'll also do is I'll just add a small amount, he says, of grey. Now, of course, the grey has also removed the chroma. Let's have a look and see what that's like before we commit to it. Turning the brush left and right, absurd. I get this paint on both sides of this brush. Yeah, I'm a bit happier with that. Still a bit on the warm side, but no worries. So let's put this in. Bit of a challenge because I'm right, literally very close. It's on the left and so is the camera. Let's see how we can do with this. If we go too much into the grey or the background, then okay, no problem. I've brought the background down a little anyway, so we can grow it a little bit up. So let's do that now. Just push that up a little bit. It's going to give us a soft edge, which in no way is a bad thing. Let's put the rest of that shape in. I'm going to use a mouse stick for this because I need a slightly awkward painting position. I'm going to try and resolve this over the next week or two. Right. That's one side. Let's do this other. Trying not to go. I'm going to put it in and then I'm going to have a look at it to see if it's it needs to grow or not. Certainly some shape adjustments going to be required. If only we could get things perfect first time, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? Wonder if Leonardo did that. Should have asked him. Let's put that in there. So at this stage, all I'm looking for is it too wide? Is it too stumpy? It looks a bit, obviously, in relationship, you can see to the other one, it looks a little bit too short. So we're going to push that up. You notice the relationship between this and that. This might be slightly large, but it certainly does make this look a little bit small. So we're going to push this up. It instantly looks a little better. I'm just going to load the brush up again. Hope you're all well. Please do feel free. Rachel's here to send in messages, requests, or anything you want to say. Always welcome to hear your voice. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't want to make it too big, but it does feel like it needs to grow a little bit more. Maybe. I'm going to just pop it a little bit more. Not terribly worried about so I'm terrible at talking and painting at the same time. Multitasking. Yeah, okay, so I think that's as far as I'm going to go with that. Let's have a look at sticking some of the, I'm going to leave it to dry a little bit because I've got a fast drying fluid in there. So I'm going to leave that about 10, 15, 20 minutes so it's before going back in there. And then I'll just make it, I think, a little bit easier to put paint on top. So we'll come back to that one. Let's just move on now to some of the other areas. Now, I'm fairly keen to look at the reflected areas of the glass. That's the background brush. This is the glass brush. So I'm looking at the computer screen because, again, it's just, pardon me, a little easier for me to see main shapes. Because the camera is obviously in the way of where my, oh, hello, that's a bit light. Gosh, that's a surprise. Okay, scene one, take two. Let's just adjust that, as they say. I think it needs a bit more warmth, and it certainly needs to go darker. Well, that woke me up. Hope you all had a nice Easter. Beautiful weather we had as well over in the weekend. Rachel and I suddenly hit the forest for a nice walk. Right, took that away. Yeah, this is looking a little light, obviously. You can probably see what I mean by that. So I'm going to take first the shape and then I'll adjust. The right side here looks like it needs to come up slightly. All corrections, straight line. Don't do a curve if you can help it. Make the curve out of straight lines. Yeah, it's not quite 100%, is it? Let's see about this. This looks like it's too long, so popping that in and see if we can extend that a little bit, bring it over. When you're painting glass, to get the reflections is kind of crucial because if you think about it, glass, in this particular case, it's blue, but is normally clear, or can be. So how can you paint glass if it's clear? It's a bit like how do you paint water? Same principle. You don't. You paint the reflections, paint what you see. And that's not looking quite right yet. Let's have a quick look at this. It's got to come up a little bit. I know this is a little bit light, but no worries. Darkening it down is a lot easier than trying to lightening it up. Some plastics coming out this evening. Let's just look at that angle. Now this is too, ideally speaking, I don't want it to be too high, and I kind of feel it's beginning to look a little high. So I'm gonna not go too much onto that side. Let's just push this down slightly higher in that area. And again, I know it's darker, but I'd rather see the shape for a second. Okay, so let's make that darker. Excellent, I'm glad you said that. Okay, so let's have a quick look. It's purpley-esque. Can you see the red in that? It's a genuine question. That's purple. Whoops. That's probably too much red. No, maybe not. So the reflections are darker than this. So we'll put some of this dark grey in. In fact, I'm going to stick a bit of the black in, I think, just to make that really go quite dark. I even work on this. Oh, that's probably too dark. Yeah, just a tad. Everything in moderation, as they say. Adding a bit more of the alizarin crimson. Clearly, when we're looking at grey, it's low chroma, so as I add the alizarin crimson, the grey takes the chroma away pretty immediately. Let's have a quick look at this as a bite and see it. Okay, it's looking still light, so we can go a little bit darker, and I can see it needs a little bit of blue in there too, so let's pop a bit of that in. Slurp of water. So it's taken all of that blue really. Let's see where this goes. Now for many, you might say, well, it's the same colour. It has changed a little bit. It hasn't changed enough. It still needs to go darker. So I'm going to, this time, add a little bit of dark blue into this. This is black and blue. Here we go. You can see the blue coming into that. And I think, again, red. Alizarin crimson. If we had cadmium red out, you put cadmium red with blue, and it can quite easily, depending if it's a light cadmium red or a medium or a dark, the darker cadmium reds tend to be a little bit more purpley-esque or blue-red. But the light cadmium red is very orangey red, and that would cause it to go brown rather than purple. Just drop the mouse stick, press it. Put that over there somewhere. So I'm going to get this. So that is defo darker now. Let's have a quick look at that. Okay. wants more colour, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the red. And I'm going to pop that across. There's some highlight, as you can see on this edge. We're not going to go near that. Going to keep that as a highlight. Okay, that's enough that way. Let's go the other. I'm looking, like I said, at the computer screen, so and that's weird because you think I should be looking this way, which might make more sense. Trouble is, I need to get right where the camera lens is, and of course I can't. Okay, so quick look. Sounds like I'm moaning. I'm not really, I'm observing. Okay, I'm going to just get a clean brush if I've got one. This is a soft one. I don't really want a soft brush. This one will probably do nicely. This is an Egbert number 2. Is that? Nope, it's number 0, Egbert. So all I want to do here is just soften, get that light, which is a little bit too light, and get it to soften into that other area. Bringing the dark across. A brush with no paint on it is a great way to paint, he says, tongue in cheek. And again here, just pushing that across. I want to be careful of this edge. This is a brush which is going to give me many different edges if I allow it to. Okay, I feel now I want to really get into, it's not, I feel it's a little bit high in the middle bit. We can bring that down, although it will be at the expense of the blue. And the dark area of blue, you can probably see that in this brush, I think, maybe, possible maybe. Let's, I want to keep it blue-esque, but I just now want to raise this up slightly. So yes, just a little, nothing too terrible. It's a bit harsh, but we'll figure on that. We'll work it later. The edge is also going in the other direction. Can you see that? The edge join is going this way. It needs to go that way. So we'll push that. Fortunately, the dark at the bottom, which is the easy way of doing it, just needs to come across a bit. So I could do that straight away, really. So look how much. It's not much, but it is a little. It's there. So let's just do that. Do remember, spot the difference. See if you can find something which oscillates, and if you do, then make it so it doesn't. Better. So I'm keeping the edge as a hard edge currently. I'll work on that later. It's not really a big deal. This side can go even darker. So we've got a bit of dark blue. The difficulty here is yeah, well, I don't want to make it blue. Well, that sounds weird, but I want it to go dark or darker, but I don't want it to go blue. This edge, I might have to tidy it up. Yeah. just putting some over the grey now. Oops, messing the grey up quite literally. I don't know, I might have improved that. Lucky brush mark. So again, with this dark brush, let's continue with a theme here. This can go a little darker, and I can tidy up that edge. And also in here. Little marks, but they make a difference. Okay. Now you notice this it's supposed to represent a reflection coming down. It's far too light. But it was really to give me a guide, because I needed to suss this out a little bit. So it was mainly put in as a guide. Nothing else. We've got a bit of dark glass you can see to down here. Is that enough? I don't want to, again, go too much into that dark area, if I can help it. At this stage. Possibly just a little bit around there. So here. Now the darks, like all things luminescent, make the luminescence even stronger. So without the darks, this would just look nothing. It's the darks that make this stand out. So we need to put those darks in. Now I'm using a black which is semi-opaque, and obviously ultramarine blue is transparent, which means when you mix the two together, you make something which is, wait for it, semi-opaque. Then you mix an opaque color with a transparent color, you make the transparent color opaque. So I'm still not quite there with the old voice yet, but we're getting there. Let's see. Need this to be blue, but dark. Yeah, we need it darker than that. So, okay. Message received, add a bit of dark. Now the reflections, the highlights, I can add. The big mass is the dark bit of glass going across, and that's too dark now, so we want a bit more blue into that. Let's have a go. I'm going to run that across. I need to know if it's in the right place, but first, again, my usual way of working, stick it in and then have a look to see if it's in the right place. If it's in the wrong place, trust me, it'll tell me. Yeah, I kind of feel that's nearish. Nearish is better than not nearish, so we'll put a bit in. Going to add a little bit of the medium, which is quick drying. Reason being is that if it's quick drying, we can add other colors on top with minimal mergence. Mergence, is that a word? Sounded good. Okay, so it's a little darker than anticipated. Maybe we needed a bit more blue in there, but I think for the now, it's not so bad. He says, see if we can stick a bit more blue-esque in. No, never mind. It's fine. Now, on a roll there with the rim, so let's do it. white's the majority of the paint off the brush. It's still a dark blue brush, but it's got little dark blue rather than a lot. So now I'm going to go into the ultramarine, a little bit of fluid, not too much. You can see how it feels. It just makes the paint flow. And I'm going to run this brush across. It should seem, he says, with limited confidence. Let's go for it. You need confidence. How can you paint without confidence? So, brush that across. It's not terrible, which is another way of saying it's okay. Now I'm going to put some more blue in here, but I'm going to just look at this area first, because in addition to blue, there's a warmth coming down here. There's a kind of, I want to say a red, but that conjures up all sorts of bright, riotous reds. So it's not red, but it's red-esque. So I'm going to add a bit of alizarin to the blue for that area. But I'm also mindful it's a fresh blue. It's a this is going to make it go quite purpley-esque, but it's also going to make it go darker than what I want, which means here's the great dilemma of most artists: when and how to add white. Because if we add white, pardon me, not only do we lose the chroma, but it also becomes opaque. Now, on the subject of that, just touching on it a second, ideally speaking, to get the luminescence on these blue glass bottles, we need to glaze. And in the ideal world, where there's no restrictions on time, like, for example, a 2-hour stream, you would, ideally speaking, glaze at least half a dozen times, maybe even more. Because every time you put a glaze on, you're narrowing the band of colour coming out through that glaze, which means your blues are getting really intense. If you add white, it has to be a base layer, because it's an opaque colour. The only way you can get a glaze is through transparent colours. So what I'm about to do, which is put white in, is going to make it opaque. That immediately places that at the bottom of a load of glazes, if we're going to get the glazing going on this. So ideally speaking, it needs to be not just the right hue-esque to achieve the final colour, but it also needs to be a little bit lighter, because every time you put a glaze on, it's going to go a little bit darker. Not massive, but it will go slightly darker. So here lies the, where do you start? So this is why it's not for the weak-hearted. So anyway, let's see how we go with this. I think I can see it clearly on here. But it's sticking it over there. And I think that's going to be a little bit too dark. If what I've just said has lost any of you in the great maze of painting and art and oil and etc., then it's okay. It's that happens. No worries. Eventually things begin to click and things like that will make sense. It's like everything, you need to do rather than not do. So I'm stabbing at this a little, if I could see it. Yeah. Okay, so see how this goes. Where does it go? It goes along here. Kind of comes down there. It's just in a tight band. Oops, that's not where it goes. Like I said, if some of you are scratching your head at this point in time, don't worry, you're not alone. It's when I start to scratch mine, I need to worry. But I think we're okay with this. Yeah, kind of perfect, he says. No worries about that one. Yes, and it also shines across here at an angle. A bit more. And it's a little bit lighter as well, bless it, and warmer. So here it goes. I don't want to go too. Let's go warmer, please. Let's go warmer. And just touching on a little bit of that. Because I just put a lot of dark in, so I'm compensating. Right. It's nothing like a plan, that's what I say. That's the wrong pile of colour. Never mind. So that's just going to pop that in, and we'll leave that to do its stuff, as I say. Yeah, you can probably, if you look closer, you can see kind of where we're at with that one. There is a edge. I think it might be higher up than that. We'll put that in at a later date. And again, this warm hue coming down. Okay, so let's see where else there's stuff going on. I think this particular piece of glass is relatively okay. There's another highlight coming down there. I'll just pick up on that. So, which is in actual fact just about here. Guesstimate, but we'll look at it, and it kind of comes up. Somewhere around there. And you can see it actually appears in the twirly thing, top, lid even. There you go, there's a nice word, lid. So let's put that in as we speak. Now the lid is fresh paint. I did it about an hour or two before the stream started. Yep, okay. And there's something going on here. A bit quieter. So these little bits help make it believable as a lid, as a shiny lid at that, or a shiny bit of glass. It's a bit thick, but we'll make that correction, I think, in a minute. Is that too... Right, so bring this over. Okay, going to just get the shape raised up. I've got a reasonably sharp edge there, and I don't want to mess with that if I can help it. I want to get a bit more warmth in this, so I'm popping a bit of alizarin straight on the brush and putting it straight into the painting. Black is a blue black, so it's going to, yeah, that's better. Okay, let's just take this now, working on this lid coming up here, for example. It's got to get a bit wider, but I think the location's near as good. If I need to shift this across, no worries, because it's fundamentally a black lid, so nothing's going to argue with black if I push that across. If it needs moving, it'll move willingly. None of these colours I'm sticking in here are going to mess with black. And there's another little one, which again is warm. So a little bit more, and it's the reflection coming up from here. So adding those areas has just made part of that lid just a little bit better. It's still needs some more red. And it says, just looking at that, yeah, just coming over a bit more. You turn the brush, you got fresh paint on the other side. Okay, it still needs to be warmer, so I'm just going to go into the alizarin and just pop that straight on top. Turn the brush to get fresh alizarin crumbs along that area. Yeah, that's a bit better. I think same for the other, this one as well. I think just needs, the base area here just needs to be a bit warmer. Turning the brush. Okay, oops, where's it gone? Yeah. Just looking at the proportion, it needs to come over. I'm going to just push this over and I can make the correction with the black later. Just too far over to the, what's that one? Left. No worries on that one. Yep. Okay, you can see just here there's a greater amount of black. So this black needs to come over, which means I just need to, I can easily mess with that. That's not a big issue. What I am mindful of is I've just taken the lid. So is it this one? No, it's not that one. So we can make it that one, no worries. Again, it's a little bit of warmth. It's the top colour. So I've just gone into that edge, which should I worry about at this stage? Might as well. Why not? Okay, all's up for a challenge. Yeah, okay, that's better. Right, put that down. Move on. I'll come back to the lid in a second. I just want to make move forward. So let's now look at putting some blue. Now let's just have a look at this dark. Where are we? One of these brushes. That's not it. I think it's that one. Never mind, I'll convert it back to a dark blue. Just wipe the bit of alizarin off. Wouldn't hurt to have a bit on there anyway. So coming in with this blue, which has got a little bit of a fluid added to it. And where are we running with this one? What did I see? Okay. It's a bit dark, isn't it? Again, I'm mindful of adding the titanium to it. We'll see. Little by little, there's no hurry. I'm going to add a little bit of the titanium to this blue. I'm biting the bullet on this one, so here we go. Yep. Now, I think I'm going to just use a palette knife a second. I'm going to take a little bit of the French ultramarine blue, pop it down here. I'm going to take a bit more than that in actual fact. I'm just going to add, I might regret this, just thinking about it for a moment. Yeah, just a little. Going to go for it. Add the smallest amount of the titanium white to the French ultramarine. There is a white called transparent white, which had I thought of, I could have squirted some out, but never mind. Some companies do as many as 22 different whites, not your usual 1, 2 or 3. I think Royal Talens or Rembrandt do 6 different whites. There's there's 6 of them. If I can remember all of them, I'll let you know. I shall think about that for a moment. Right, let's see. A little bit of fluid. And let's have a quick test and look. it's a shame the just looks a little bit not quite right. Let's have a quick touch with something else a second. Some analysis on that colour. It's going to pop a little bit more. There are two ways we can go on some. It's looking a little bit warm. So there's a clue. Add a bit of that. A lot of this is you got to just look and see too much white. You need to not take it as written that everything is just as it's going to be. Pop a colour in and analyse it. If it needs to go purple, then there's the ultramarine violet just on the palette, so it's an easy push across. The violet is not a warm purple. It's very blue. Bit more of the fluid. Let's see what this looks like. You can see that beside it. Yeah, I'm a bit happier with that colour. So let's paint over that and pop this in and just have a look. I'm going to make this dark rim a little bit thinner. I'm going to keep the position of those two reflections just for a minute. I'm going to see what this looks like before I make any decisions as to what to do with those. Like I said, I'm mainly there for location, so I know that they're there. And let's just pop this into that dark. So look at that. Yeah. Certainly a better colour than the one which we had a second ago before I added the purple to it. So I'm going to put this across here as well. It's got a little bit of the medium mixed in, so it's kind of free flowing. Doing well today. Let's bring this down. Now the little bottle is in front of this jar, and it's got a much darker edge, so it should stand out. It also means I can do any corrections quite easily with that. Notice the way I'm putting paint on, it's left and right, up and down, mainly down. Look at that. Not quite getting confused as to which is the painting and which is the subject, but almost, which is a nice sign. Who am I kidding? I go into more detail. Someone will suggest I need glasses, which of course I do. It's looking gooder, methinks. Bringing that over. Right. Now, this is going to be interesting in this area. I need to bring that ridge round. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it on this one pass. No. So we'll do another one. I went into that with a bit of dark and then went, oh, I shouldn't have done that. So just here, for example, I've got a bit too much dark than I really would have wanted in that one spot. Yes, we need dark, but we don't need too much. Okay. Dark will spread a bit. This edge here needs to see more light of day, so they say. So we'll do that in a mo. Notice it's little bits at a time. I'm not using a 4-inch roller. Oh, I just knocked the camera, sorry. It's big enough, you think I know where it was. Now, I'm going to just continue with this. Yes, I just want to stick this in a different spot. I've got some colour on the brush. I didn't want to just dump it down in the wrong place. So I'm going to pop it in here, which is this little bottle. Yeah, it could come over slightly to the other side. It says loading the brush again. No worries. One of the things I think I've realised about the way I paint is, which has come to light in doing these streams and videos, tutorial videos which we're doing, is that I need to keep myself on a particular path. It's very easy for me to get distracted and go onto something completely different for no reason. So it's quite an education for me. It's all good. I like it. Okay, so I'm going to go back into the French ultramarine blue for this next bit. And I'm going to put a little bit of fluid in. This is already wet, so part of me is saying wait till it dries, but the other part is saying, nah, just do it. So here we go. I'm going to pop this on and just come down. So I'm kind of losing. I think that's enough for the now. And I'm going to do the same again. If I could find the, I think that was it. Was that it? Well, we'll call it it. A little bit of fluid. And we're going to do the same to this, but with a bit more fingers crossed. Ever so slightly more. I'm mindful of putting too much fluid in because I don't want it to affect the paint that's already underneath. If you have too much fluid in, it can do just that. which being mindful of it. When I mean effect, I mean it's lift, literally lift off. So it would be well advised. Yeah, I'm going to just kind of call it there because I don't want to go too much. Just one tiny bit down. Yeah. Ever so slight, but it looks like it's just slightly dark. But it is small. And I'm just going to free the screen of the camera. Okay. Onward and upward. Let's do the same to this. We've got some paint on the brush already. Pulled a bit of the dark down, which is a shame. Didn't want to do that. So we'll correct that straight away. Okay. So now what was looking dark is now looking a bit light still. Can you see that? That's because the blue has been brought out. A bit more water. It says almost choking on it. Right. So now, am I happy with that? I'm happier, maybe happy-esque, but not totally happy. So I'm thinking just to tweak that a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to go into the wrong brush. That'll do. So this is the brush which just want to adjust the lid. Lid? Yes, lid. Now, there's nothing to hang on to here, so hold your breath. This is a bit of black, so I'm just going to add into a bit of blue to make a bluey black. Right. Just see where you're going with this. Yeah, I kind of feel it just ever so slightly needs to come down the bottom. Why do I get these ideas? I don't know. So, never being frightened of a challenge. Yeah, part of me is wanting to go, yes, doesn't it look better? But the other part is going, does it? It's perfectly okay to have these conversations in your head, by the way, if you're, well, if you're me, it is. Yeah, I've come slightly too far down on that side, which I can just push up again, no problem. I'm going to convince myself that that was a good idea. A good idea. Let's use this blue brush. Never know, so you don't do. So, a little bit of this. Right, lovely. I'm going to push the light a little bit, and although I'm going, no, don't do this, I am going to do it. I'm going to stick a little bit of the white in. I'm not going to add it to the main colour. I'm just going to add it a little bit to bring this out a bit. So here goes. Just too much. Yeah, okay, good. Now the French ultramarine that's just here, I'm now going to just add a bit of that colour onto this brush and run that across again. Do remember to breathe when you're doing this sort of stuff. It's very important. Yeah, okay, next. That we can play with and work on. So let's just go into the dark brush, which is this one, maybe that one. Good. I knew that. And again, let's just have a look at this. I'm going to push this over here. Is that enough? Wouldn't hurt. So I'm really just kind of content currently to work in one pot, jar even. I'm mindful this lid is drying as we speak, which is good. I'm deliberately doing that. And that still needs to come over a bit. I'm looking at, when I do this, I'm looking at deliberately looking at any kind of movement which I see. So if the dark shape needs to get bigger, as I look like subject to painting, it will tell me, it will wave. It'll, what I call, start oscillating. Like some kind of cartoon in a paper, spot the difference. I'm lethal at those, by the way. I think most people who paint and draw are. Nothing like self-praise, is there? Okay. Let's have a quick peep on the shape of that. Maybe I'm happy. Maybe. Gonna just bring this slightly thinner. Yeah, okay. Any difference in color we can easily change when it's a little bit drier. Now let's have a look at this. Take the last of the brush off. Good. So I think it's this end. Softening that edge a bit. Might have made that too thin. Let's just look at that. Brush is, yeah, we use that one. looks grey. Must be right. Adding a bit of warmth into this, I just want to push that high. And low. And add more. Okay, now it's a little light, ever such a small amount, and the cheating way of doing this is just to put a touch of the dark in, and then with the previous brush, which was the red one, kind of just wiggle it around a bit. Again, dark. I say cheesy way because you could mix up the right colour, which is maybe the right thing to do, but sometimes it's nice to have shortcuts. Maybe. Probably showing you some of my bad habits here. There you go. So it's just pushed back a little bit. And now the gap between those two I can see is too big. So where's the truth on this? Maybe a bit of both. So here I'm going to put that across. And this I'm going to bring this across a little. The gap is, that's more controllable. Good. Okay, I know what I'm talking about. Maybe. Possible, maybe. It's just now, let's do the same to this. Just soften that edge, breaking it up a bit, coming back into the colour. And again, it's a kind of, is it the right way of doing stuff? Maybe, if it works. If it doesn't, then it's maybe not. Right, and let's just get the dark brush and do this edge a little, that edge a little. And push up high. I think the Puritan way of doing it will probably be slightly different than that. But it's nice to show you some shortcuts as well as the, I'm going to say good stuff as well as the bad stuff, but we all get into some interesting habits when we're doing stuff. Some of them are okay, some of them you think, oh no, that didn't work. So you don't do it again. Yeah, so you can see where we're going. I can tweak that in a little bit later on, I think, and move around. It's like it's maybe grown in the wrong direction again. It's only a small amount. There's only one right place for it to be. I'm going to leave it there for a sec. Okay, so let's look at this shadow zone now, which is actually this brush again. We've got a bit of dark blue, which we want to put in. So that's down here. Let's have a quick peep. Is that too high or low? It's okay. It's a little bit high. There it is. Now the nice thing about obviously this stage is that there is a lot of paint which is already quite wet. And as you therefore paint on top of it, it automatically gives you a softened edge, which is useful sometimes. Not always. I'm going to push a little bit of French ultramarine blue into this brush. I'm actually going to wipe it a little bit. Not a lot, because I need a colour between these two. Let's do a quick look. Yeah, okay. I'm going to bring this over and see if it works. If it doesn't, no worries, we wipe it off. Gosh, did I say that? I really do mean by these things that so many people I know who learn to paint, it's such a lot of stress. Don't be stressed out. Worst can happen is that you need to just wipe it off, or do another one. Good practice. It's no big deal. And the more you have a relaxed attitude towards painting, the easier it is to learn. That's going off in the wrong angle. No worries. Okay, now I want to introduce a bit of high blue onto that. So I think it's going to be this. Maybe that. And I want to pop it on top as well. So here goes. Little tiny tweak. Yeah, okay. Probably could go slightly higher. So these adjustments, higher, lower, it's all part of it. Okay. Now I feel like I need to just go and get this nailed. So let's look at that. Oh, that's too light. Ish. Yeah, it's definitely going up. It's going up a bit too much. Now I'm going to just push this across. Again, it's into wet paint, so it's going to automatically blend in a little. And I'm just going to gently push this up here and here so we lose the edge. And here. Be mindful of that other colour.